Hello everyone, Kaoz here, and welcome to another old school RuneScape video. The other day when combat achievements were proposed, discussed, and then released, there was a fairly controversial discussion over on Twitter and Reddit, and I was reading through some of the replies from both the players and Jagex moderators, and oh boy, I forgot how toxic this community can actually be. Honestly, I think it's because there hasn't been a ton of content recently, and if some players deem a few pieces of content, either new or old, to be either too low or too high in the requirement ladder, a lot of people are bound to complain about them, which is exactly what happened with the most recent update in the form of combat achievements as of the release of this video. Now, there was a specific moment which I took as inspiration for this video, and we are going to talk about that in specific, but in this new episode, I also want to talk about many things surrounding this initial event. As you guys know, I love grabbing a topic related to old school and then seeing where else we can apply it. Now, this time around, my only disclaimer is that with this video, I am not defending Jagex or the moderators, and also, very important, I am not telling you guys not to be toxic in the game, not to be toxic in real life, but rather I want to talk about things that seem to trigger this toxicity, as well as mentioning a few examples of instances where things could be a little bit too much for people to handle. And now, I'm a full believer of criticism, either constructive or even harsh at, one point or another, but these are moments where toxicity in the game, specifically in old school RuneScape, was taking a bit too far, and what we can do as a community to change it. Now, this is going to be a very different video that I've done before. We've done brainstorming, game analysis with the recent Summer Summit, but this, I believe, is going to be very different. It's going to be like a combination between Jagex analysis and then also like life advice. Again, I'm not claiming to be a life guru or anything, but I want to talk about why the community seems to be incredibly toxic in some aspects, and if you guys like this video, make sure to let me know by smashing the like button, as your favorite YouTubers tend to do, as well as subscribing with notifications on, and you guys can also check out our Discord link in the description below. Now, last but not least, before we get into the main topic, this is going to be the very first time in which I'm going to do something else in the game. Other than walking around, you guys will be seeing some Hydra gameplay, and you can let me know what you think about in the comments. Do you like this idea? Oh my god, I'm choking. Do you like this idea, or do you like me walking around the map just chilling and talking about the game? So, with that, I am going to play for you guys a little clip that happened over at Twitch, and we have Husky talking about what it means to be I guess like a Jagex moderator, and having to deal with some of this toxicity that we've had to see over, the last couple of years especially. So, take a listen.
One thing I did just want to touch on a little bit is that, I know there's a lot of people in the chat going on about Jewel Arena and oh my god, and there's a lot of actual toxicity going on in chat, and I know it's a Twitch chat and I know it's the internet, but you guys sometimes really make it difficult to want to come on these Q&As and give you guys dev insights. We can't talk about the Jewel Arena because we're not part of the leadership team, so please save those for the leadership stream, put the questions to those. But you're already maybe noticed that some of these weeks there are 2 or 3 devs coming on, and it's because people just don't want to come in and deal with this in the chat and have personal insults and have people go on about things that are, we can't answer and you guys should know. So please guys, just try and, I know it's the internet, I know people just say, oh, just deal with it, but it's not our job to be on Q&As. We do this. Quite often people stay back extra in their spare time to do this just to engage and just to get the feedback with you guys and just to try and get this engagement with the community. So please just try and remember to have just that little bit of courtesy in the chat, because, I don't think comments about my weight are appropriate to you disliking combat achievements, right? That's a personal thing for me. So please guys, just try and keep it civil, okay?
Now, in this instance, it doesn't really matter what Husky was talking about, especially with the other moderators. Now, they also talk about this in, a little bit of a higher detail, but obviously I'm not going to include the entire clip in here or the or part of the VOD, but rather I want to talk about some of the things that have happened recently and in the past for people to actually feel this way about the Jagex Q&A and everything surrounding social media with Jagex moderators. Now, I have Husky right here, and you guys will see a little screenshot that I have on Twitter. I actually asked the Husky if he would like to, come into an interview, and he politely declined because I think there's really not a lot to talk about here, other than a lot of people seem to take this to heart, and that is also another thing I want to talk about in this video. Now, I have Mud Husky as a prime example here because I think he is one of the people who is super involved with the community, both the community managers, which are Sween, Ayiza, and I think there are two recent community Jagex moderators. I don't exactly remember their handle, but it seems like a lot of people who are really close and tightly knit to the community are the ones who receive the most trash, but with some exceptions. If you guys have seen Mr. Ash and Mod Kieran, I don't think those guys receive like a lot of a lot of flack, a lot of flame. Honestly, everyone loves Mod Ash, and I don't think Kieran is that involved with the community. He may reply to, a few things here and there, but I think that Husky and the community managers are the ones who get the most flame, and obviously it's because they are, the ones who reply to most of the comments. Now, a few examples come to mind, and even though I'm not going to mention every single one of them, rather my top 3, you guys can let me know in a comment below where you think the community has gone a little bit too far when it comes to criticism or, straight up harassment. You guys can let me know, and also tell me where it happened, what update it was, basically everything surrounding the event. But for my first example, I have also Mud Husky at the front of this little drama, and it's because if you guys remember, there was a time in which the Nightmare of Ashihama was being proposed, and there was a dev blog where people were talking about the rewards. Now, other than the Nightmare staff, the Inquisitor's armor, what happened is that if you guys remember, if you started playing in 2020, maybe you don't exactly remember this, but what happened is that there was a new best-in-slot magic shield supposed to be coming into the game, but rather than, it being like the arcane, it was going to combine a drop from the Nightmare as well as the Mage's Book from the Mage Training Arena, and it was going to be a better version of the arcane spirit shield. Now, this already sounded kind of cringe for people who go like, my pixels. But Mud Husky made a comment that rubbed people the wrong way, and he basically said that he is so glad that he's not gonna have to grind corp on his Iron Man anymore. Now, a lot of people took this to heart, and there were even Reddit threats about Jagex, or I guess specifically Jagex mods, doing content just so they can avoid doing other things in the game for the best-in-slot items, the best-in-slot things, gear. And honestly, it was taking a little bit too far because in the criticism posts, there were people legitimately wishing death and even cancer on Mud Husky, and I think he also had something to say about it, which, again, I couldn't find. I also couldn't find the clip where he says that. I looked for like an hour. But this is the biggest instance, and the thing I remember the most when it comes to toxicity in old school RuneScape. Now, there's really not a lot to mention about it other than, obviously wishing death and cancer onto someone for proposing content on a game because your pixels are going to be devalued seems, a little bit too much. I really do not understand why people do that, and not only Mud Husky, but let's say Mod Ayiza, who does the blogs before they come out or where they are proposing something. Whenever there's anything related to PvP or whatever, Mod Ayiza is, also someone who's really involved with that community and someone who also receives a ton of flack. Now, speaking about PvP, this also happened with the release or the forced release of the Vestas Longsword. Now, if you guys remember on my failed polls video, there was a little poll in which Jagex proposed the ancient warrior weapons in the way of Vesta, Stadius, Morrigan, and Zuriel. And what happened is that Jagex pushed the, the update, the Vesta's Longsword, even though it failed the poll. And a lot of people were like, really upset about this. They were like, okay, why are you polling it if you are still going to do it? Now, in this case, there were no death threats or whatever, but there were a lot of personal attacks to the J-mods, and even though I understand it, I don't justify it whatsoever. Now, the last example is something that Husky mentioned in the clip that I showed you at, maybe somewhere throughout the middle of the video, and it's basically that Jagex receives a lot of criticism for the dual arena. Now, obviously, this is something that's talked about even in parts outside of RuneScape, and I can understand why this is, in my very personal opinion, one of the most hindering parts of the game. Not because people get legitimately addicted to it, but yeah, because there's a lot of real-world traders that seem to enjoy this place a little bit too much. So, now, this, I believe, boils down to the attachment and how much people love to play the game. Now, I can't think of one thing I am invested as much to be upset for either a little or a big change, right? I am someone who's not, I don't want to say I am a, what is this word, like, conformist in life, that if you have it good, then, there's no reason to complain or whatever, but honestly, when it comes to a game, it seems like, people actually take it, a little bit seriously. Now, I think the people who get the angriest of this are people who obviously spend a lot of time in the game, and when I say a lot, maybe it's a little bit too much, because again, I don't really see why a casual or like a normal player should be angry at these changes, and yeah, I really do not know why that is. Now, again, not a life guru, but you have to wonder if these people also do this in real life. Like, let's say someone has to move. Do they get as angry as that? I don't even think so. But this is exactly one thing that I want to remind you guys. A lot of times we get too inspired in the game and the things that are going to be changing, that we forget that Jagex moderators are not only people, but are also players who think about the ideas and then propose them, and even if something fails, even if something passes, there is going to be a ton of personal opinion, not only as a Jagex moderator, but also as a game you love to play. Now, as this last little thing I want to mention is that I don't know if every single Jagex moderator plays the game, like maybe religiously as Husky, or I believe Kieran also plays like a whole ton, Mod Arcane, Mod Flippy. There are some that I know don't play the game as much, maybe Mod Ash, and now I don't know about Mod Sween. But I guess the last thing I want to mention in this video is that, we need to remember that even though Jagex as a company does need a lot of criticism from, their players, I really don't think criticism should evolve further than, just a little disagreement, or, if you really do not agree with the game, just cancel your subscription. But honestly, wishing death, or even worse, to Jagex moderators for a little change that, is going to come into the game potentially, I really do not agree with that. But you guys can let me know what you think, in the comments below. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video before I start rambling for too much. I will see you guys on Friday for another nice little rambly video, and then on Monday for a nice announcement that I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on Friday. Peace.